Welcome back to another episode of these crazy people that just eat meat all the time and can't stop talking about it. Today we got a special guest all the way from Singapore. Michelle was kind enough to give us some time to tell us about the carnivore movement in another country that we haven't explored yet. So we welcome her to the show, and I'm sure she's got a lot of fascinating things to tell us. So she's going to tell us about her journey, how she wound up on carnivore. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and then jump right into it, Michelle?
Okay, thank you. Hi everyone. I'm just glad to really finally come on to more platforms to share my story. I've been doing carnivore now for about 2 years plus. But I first started out with as in things when it comes to dieting, it began with keto, as most people would have ventured into the journey of carnivore. But I guess to take it back, really back, it's I think when I was 14, 15 years old, I was pretty conscious about my body. Okay, I wasn't overweight or anything, but I guess I was just skinny fat. Um, and I think in my upbringing, there's a lot of, I would say, insecurities, body image issues, and the people around me as well could have affected it. So I guess at a point of time, I started experimenting with dieting. I started getting to know into like the world of exercising. And I think to fast forward the entire thing is that I never really knew what a protein would do, a carb would do, or even what a fat would do. And being in that world of Googling, searching for information, you just follow what it is out there. So at a point of time, I was just, doing the low calorie diet and then trying out slow carbs and never really knew what would be ideal because, eating a meat base or going carnivore keto wasn't there back then. So I did that. And I even went into vegetarian for a while, but with the purpose of, seeing what's in the media. Oh, everybody's doing, vegan, and this is how you're going to achieve a slimmer body frame. I guess it's very aesthetics focused. And I guess that is when things started going downhill for me because I started having a lot of skin rashes. My mood wasn't really great. And my menstrual cycle was obviously affected at a point of time. And I was actually underweight. So a lot of people didn't tell me that. I guess underweight in the sense where I didn't have a lot of muscle mass. I was just very, very small. I'm only like 5 feet, tall, very tiny. So I got down to the weight of even 38 kg. My parents was like, are you anorexic or something? You have spine sticking out from your back. It's like they are kind of wondering what substance I was taking. So I thought that was healthy, but so then when I was doing vegetarian, I was not really completely vegan because I still like eggs. So I went vegetarian for a bit. Okay, so back to it, my skin got really bad. My mood was affected to the point that every time when I try to go to sleep, I will wake up in the middle of the night scratching myself because I would have all this. At that point, I didn't know what it was. It was actually histamine intolerance. So I had hives, like those little bumps that will appear whenever I don't even know what I was eating at that point of time, but I would have all this reaction and I couldn't sleep. And I'll have this deep, intense itch in my body that, I would just scratch and it just doesn't go away. And it prolonged for quite a while. And that's when I started going to the doctors, obviously they would give me antihistamine pills, antibiotics. And that's when my eczema started flaring up. And obviously we know that when you take medication for a long period of time, it kind of gives you different side effects. So I guess that's when my gut really got affected. And I started reacting to different kinds of food that I thought was healthy, like oatmeal, blueberry, cottage cheese, even at that point, there was a trend where, quinoa is like the replacement of I did all that. The only meat that I would take is actually a can of tuna that is in sunflower oil. And I didn't know that, that it's not good for you. I think things got pretty bad at that point. So then I started watching YouTube videos, and I saw Dr. Berg.
Eric Berg.
And then Stephanie Keto Person. They were talking about this keto, high fat. I've always been very intrigued by it because I guess I just want to experiment to see how I can feel better. And that's how I went into the whole low carb world. But eventually I went to carnivore. It's because I guess when I was doing keto for that 6 years, I never really resolved my digestion issues. I still have eczema. I still have acne breakouts, which I know it's not very normal. I'm in my 34 now. So I understood that when you reach a stage when you're getting towards your 30 years old, you're not supposed to have all these hormonal issues, but I still had. So I saw Frank Tufano's video and Sean Baker and so on, and even Steak and Butter Girl. It was actually her egg pudding video that really caught me because I ate that when I was young. My grandma would make it all the time. Yeah. So I guess from then onwards, when I saw Frank Tufano's video, it really changed what I understood about nutrition. So here I am. No more skin rashes, no more eczema. My acne is at bay, and I feel so much better. I've gained weight, but I would say healthy weight, which is mostly muscle weight. And I'm able to exercise a lot. I would say not exercise a lot more energy at the gym compared to when I was in keto. Yeah.
I noticed that myself. So yeah, and we've heard a number of people say that they got more muscular without even increasing their workouts. Like just by changing to carnivore, it seemed to just more muscle would build. So
yeah.
Well, and with Emily, she didn't even work out at all, and she got muscle like immediately.
Yeah, our friend Emily that was just in here, she said that's exactly what happened to her. So that's amazing. So have you ever had any histamine reaction to any meats since you started carnivore?
Okay, so in my first year of experimenting, funnily, I reacted very badly to caviar, your fish roll, which is strange because I can do salmon very well, but perhaps there's some antibiotics in the caviar that I got. Ever since then, I got actually a very bad histamine reaction to the point that I actually went to the clinic. Yeah, my throat swelled up, and I didn't know why. So I asked the doctor. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't get a proper answer from him. So, but I can do salmon well. Caviar, I still haven't, how to say, to be brave enough to try it again. Ever since that episode. Chicken, I can do it once a while. Okay, but eggs is something that is unusual for me. Until today, I can't really do eggs on a daily basis. I realized that if I go through that 4th or 5th day mark of doing eggs every day, I will start feeling itchy. No rashes though, no rashes, no eczema flare. It's just you feel a little bit tingly, which I think it's where it's about to start. Yeah. But other meat, I'm fine. I'm completely good with lamb, with beef.
And early on, you did have eggs, though, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
And what's your favorite meat? What do you eat the most of?
Oh, I love beef, but I love lamb as much as I love beef. A lot of people here actually don't like lamb.
Oh.
I know quite a few people don't like it. So.
But do you guys enjoy lamb? Because I see most carnivores are on beef.
Yeah.
Lamb's just a lot more expensive where I live, so than beef.
Oh, okay. It's about the same price here. Yeah, sometimes I rotate. If I get bored with beef, I would switch it up to lamb. But now I'm really trying to just follow my instincts and how I feel. Yeah.
So my question is, so when you were at your lowest weight, and your parents were worried, and people were getting worried, how was your self-esteem though? Like, because it kind of sounds like that's what you were going for, right? And then it sounds like in the culture and in where you grew up, that was kind of the model to be, correct? So I mean, how was it? Was there like a disconnect where it was like you felt physically bad, but you looked really good? And so was that difficult to process and get over that? Or I'm just curious how that went for you.
Physically bad. I guess it works both ways. I think at that point of time, my surrounding, I think it's your upbringing that really affects how you perceive yourself to be. I was really in a stage where I was taking things very personally. I guess okay, when I was growing up, my parents, obviously I don't blame them, but they don't know what is nutritious for their kids. So I would have Oreos. I would prefer Oreos and cereal rather than their proper meat. I wouldn't go for that.
Right.
So I think what really triggered me at one point of time, which was funny, is that one of my ex-boyfriend, he was buying a lot of chocolates for me, and then I was eating a lot of those chocolates, and then he was like, he pinched me on my arm. He's like, "You are like getting fat." I'm like, "Wow."
No.
I think it's
Breakup
when
done.
I
And
ever
from
have
that
a
point
kid,
forward, he was no
I
longer
would,
your boyfriend.
yeah, I would never say things like that, because this kind of things really change how you're going to be, when you're at the stage of being a teenager,
Right.
you don't know who you are, you're finding, and you don't know what you're supposed to feel comfortable with or to be confident in. Yeah. So, but I would say that ever since I started all this, my family is quite supportive, because they kind of knew that I'm the kind of personality that if I want to try something, they can't really tell me anything, because the more they do, the more I'm just going to ignore it and do it. So they just allowed me to go ahead with it. Yeah.
So do you find yourself adjusting like your protein to fat ratio at all, or you just eat whatever sounds good? Or
Okay, in the beginning, I went pretty hard just focusing on fats, because I understand the importance of it when it comes to having the ketones and feeling better. I did that. It was fine, but it was quite difficult, because obviously the people here, they always trim off the fats, So I have to really find a butcher that sells me those trim cuts. And in the beginning, I did higher fat. But then as I progress, I felt that I do better with higher protein.
same here. I was just having a discussion with somebody online about that. Yeah, actually a couple people. Yeah, a lot of people, because I know a lot of people are having really good success with high fat, particularly women.
But do you think it's also because of your exercise routine? Because I see a lot of those that do higher protein, they tend to lift more weights. They do more intense workouts.
I think you're 100% correct on that. Yeah, I think the protein demand goes up more than we think, because most people are used to thinking about fat as fuel, and we just need a minimal amount of protein. And then there's all this baggage from keto saying that, oh, if you have any extra protein, you're automatically going to spike your glucose and you're going to spike your insulin, and then the world's going to come to an end. But I think once you've been fat adapted for a while, I think your body, most of that glucose is all demand driven. I don't think eating protein really causes you to produce much extra glucose than you would have had you eaten less. Maybe a little, but we don't know. We don't see people's A1C values going up. We don't see their glucose levels going up. We don't see their insulin levels going up. So maybe in the beginning, if your body's used to a lot of sugar, maybe you'll produce a little extra, get a little spike. I don't know, because that did seem to happen to some people in the beginning. But I'm right there with you, because I was trying to explain that to somebody today. It's like, well, I look at it as how much protein should I eat first, and then I figure out how many calories going to burn, and then I try and fuel with the fat. I'm trying to match roughly how many calories I'm going to need for energy, and kind of equate that to fat. And then if you want to adjust your body composition, you can dial down the fuel to get leaner or something like that. That's the approach I take. But it's very, very common for people to go, oh, you can't get more than 25% of your calories from protein, or 15%, or whatever. And which you get these people, a lot of women in particular, they lose their hair, and a lot of times they're under eating, right? So when they eat more, because, well, you go on carnivore and it's so satisfying, right? So a lot of people under eat, right? Because they're eating the fat, and then they're like, well, I'm not hungry. And then you look at how many calories they're putting in, and you're like, it's just not enough calories. And then I think there's cost to that. One of the most obvious ones is losing their hair.
Yeah. Actually, I learned that I learned that from different types of fats. Like, for example, if you just follow what everybody's doing, like just taking beef suet, the fats around the kidney, if you cook it a little bit too much, some people actually don't feel satiated as much as when they eat the raw fats. And some people, maybe when they eat raw fat, it's not satiating for them, but they need to try things like bone marrow. I think different fat from the animal kind of give you different satiety. And I think that the greatest tips is, I know when I was watching some of the YouTube videos, the ladies, they're trying to lose weight, but they have to eat in the fats, but it's kind of like, not going hand in hand. It's probably they need to try different types of fats, and maybe they can cycle the fats, meaning to say, 1 week before your menstrual cycle, your period, you're supposed to up your fats, but the rest of it, you can kind of taper it down. I think there's a whole video that's done by Carnivore Yogis. It's really helpful for some of the women trying to balance out, I want to keep my physique, I don't want to look too,
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah. Did you have a question, Ray?
Yeah, Michelle, I wanted to ask, did you ever have a problem under eating at any point in carnivore because you felt so satiated?
Not really. But maybe when I was doing prolonged fast, and when I was trying OMAD in my first year, because it's so hard to really cramp in that much, your total intake, right? So you tend to feel like, oh no, I already eat this much, and then if I were to eat again, it becomes like very inconvenient. So you could potentially undereat, at least in my experience doing OMAD.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know I can't get enough food in one meal, so I haven't been messing with OMAD, but I mean, I burn like 3,000 to 5,000 calories a day easy. So, and I have a high protein demand, so I can't imagine eating, I'm shooting for probably close to 300 grams of protein a day. So packing that in one meal, I haven't been able to do it yet. One day, maybe, if I keep practicing. But, yeah.
But do you guys notice that you feel full faster when your meat is more well done?
I notice I don't digest it as well, and we've all done experiments. Us here have all experimented with eating raw meat to some degree, including raw.
Right.
And Emily, that was here, she eats almost exclusively raw meat and raw fat. So I notice the less cooked the meat and the fat is, the faster and easier I digest it.
I fill up faster with raw, much faster.
So
I mean,
what have you noticed? Sorry.
I was to say, you feel fuller, but not stuffed. Like you feel just very satisfied, and it feels really easy on the digestion when you have some raw, especially a raw steak, a nice ribeye or something like that. It just so for a bit here, I was grabbing some raw fat from the freezer and just munching on it, you know, and that was really nice just to do, and it goes down really easy, and you feel full, but your stomach still feels empty. If that makes sense, it feels both full and empty at the same
Absolutely.
Yeah.
time, which
Love
is
that feeling.
really interesting feeling,
Yeah.
which
So,
I think is how we're supposed to feel, right? Like we shouldn't feel stuffed after eating. I think that's a sign of poor gut health or poor digestion or overcooked meat or not eating the right things entirely. That's just my little thought on that.
so what have
Yeah.
you noticed as far as cooking and meat and fat being cooked or more or less well done, rare? What have you noticed?
I noticed that I feel full and more satiated but it's specifically to ground beef though, when it's cooked well.
Mm.
I get satiated way faster compared to like a piece of steak that is medium rare. Um, I agree to that. It's you feel full, but not in a like extended kind of way.
Right,
It's a
like
different kind of
less distension, it's farther from feeling
yeah.
bloated. Yeah. So how much
Yeah.
ground beef do you typically eat?
Normally, if I'm working out, usually I eat about 600, 1.5 pound. That's my highest.
Mm.
But normally I eat about 1 pound of meat a day. So
Do you notice a difference between eating like steak and ground beef or steak and ground
yes,
ham? Mm.
I would say that I do better with ground beef for some reason. And if it's a steak, it depends where it's from, whether it's grass-fed or grain-fed. Yeah, sometimes the grass-fed would really make me feel super full, but not the grain-fed, which is strange. That's what I noticed. Yeah.
That is interesting. That's quite an observation. Yeah, because we're all trying to move towards finding more grass finished beef,
Yeah.
and it's hit or miss here. Getting grass fed ground beef is easy. Getting grass fed steaks is relatively difficult. You can order them and stuff like that, but there's not a
Yeah.
lot on the shelf in the market when you go. It's not a lot to choose from. So, and I don't eat much ground beef because the only way I like ground beef, like if I eat cooked ground beef, I don't feel as good as if I eat steak. If I eat raw
Uh-huh.
ground beef, I'm fine, but I don't want to grind up a nice steak when I'm just going to eat it. And I'm cautious about eating raw hamburger from the store, right?
Oh
Because
yeah.
it can be contaminated, right? So I don't eat a lot of ground beef anymore, but I used to. Did you guys notice that too? You guys didn't like eating the ground beef quite as much?
You know, I think for a lot of people, this is for me as well. It's like, you know, ground beef is because it's economical. I mean, it's okay. I mean, it's hard to eat. I don't know if you do dairy, Michelle, but you know, it seems to be that for me, I can't choke down some beef patties without adding on some cheese or something onto it. They're just
Right.
too dry. They're just, you know, even throwing in the fat, a little extra butter. I just kind of struggle with that. You know, it's not as
Right.
pleasurable. Whereas eating a steak, especially a ribeye, New York, something like that, it's just, I can just go to town on that and it doesn't even need nothing, you know.
Yeah.
And then my other question was going to be, as far as working out, do you work out fasted and then you get hungry and then you eat, or sometimes you eat then work out? Just depends on your schedule. And do you notice a difference?
I noticed a big difference. I tried both ways, but I prefer to working out fasted. I get my workout done better and I feel stronger, feel a little bit lighter when I'm doing it fasted. But as compared to, I tried it before, you know, having a steak and then waiting a few hours after that and doing it. it's not the same feeling. I'm not sure why I feel not so energized. Probably it's because the protein is too lean. Maybe it's the lean steak, or probably it's the fats that's not being able to be utilized for the kind of workout that I'm doing. So I tend to feel better doing it fasted.
Yeah, a lot of people find that working out fasted is easier. Do you typically work out in the morning?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So I work out at night. So working out fasted.
Oh.
So yeah, just my schedule, based on my work schedule. So how frequently do you find yourself eating? Do you eat a couple times a day, 3 times a day, 4 times a day?
I would say normally it's 2 times a day. If I get enough fats in the morning, normally by the second meal, I'm not that hungry. I would just eat a little bit. So that would be about like 2 meals. But as I get towards, the stage of, my period, I would actually try to eat 3 times a day. And I fast less. It makes my mood a little bit better. And I don't get those effects that women usually get, cramps and backache. I tend to be a little bit more nurturing 1 week before that. So I will eat like 3 times a day. Yeah.
It's a good tip. So I was curious, do they eat much cheese in Singapore?
Oh yeah, we do. Everywhere. And there's even this thing, which is, I don't know if I want to use the word disgusting, but I already mentioned it. Okay, so in Asia, it's very popular that we have this thing called the bubble tea. It's, I don't know if you have it over there, but it's a very Asian thing. Yeah. And they made it into a cheese version.
Really?
Cheese?
Yeah, with a ton of sugar.
The tapioca balls?
Tapioca balls or cheese?
Yes, it's like a cheesy milkshake or cheesy bubble tea. I was like, wow, this is very interesting.
Oh my God.
That's interesting.
So people are like slurping down cheese, but with sugar, It can be carnivore, but it's with sugar.
Right, it's a sugar. Yeah, that thing's full of sugar.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I think me and Tom have a new idea, a new business plan to bring
carnivore
tapioca
cheesy
cheese,
bubble
carnivore boba. There you go.
Oh my God. There we go. Yeah. Justin and I are gonna start our own bologna factory one of these days. So maybe we'll start making little cheese balls.
Yeah.
Interesting. Did you have another question, Ray, that you didn't get to ask?
No. I was just following on.
Yeah, people love cheese here, but I don't do dairy well. I can't even do butter, even though I love it.
Oh, really?
That much.
Oh, butter upsets you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Eczema. Somehow my eczema would just flare up.
Interesting. Huh.
And how long you been carnivore now, Michelle?
2 years plus. So yeah, 2 years plus.
Very nice. So, and you find most people that you discuss it with are accepting of it, of your carnivore diet?
When I first did keto, they really thought that I was crazy. They were afraid that I was going to get heart attack very soon, right? So when I went totally carnivore, they're not super shocked because I already kind of paved the way that I'll be doing weird things anyways.
Yeah.
So people around me, I think they see that I'm kind of like, how to say, I have improved so much from the past. I used to be sick from work. I used to, always have all these dry skin patches on my skin, and I have rashes. People start to see like, hey, this is not happening to her anymore, and she's a lot more energetic. So I think people are starting to accept it. It's just that they can't. I get a lot of questions like, they would say, I really want to do what you're doing, but I feel dizzy if I don't eat rice,
Right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they're still at that stage where, because here, right in Singapore, I mean, carbs are everywhere. I mean, it's rice is a staple. Everything is Even the meat is marinated in like sweet sauce, the Asian. It's very hard for people to just tune in, just eat a steak, and that's it.
I was actually going to
But
ask
I hope
about.
we'll get there.
Oh, sorry. I was actually going to ask about being carnivore in Singapore and going out. If you do eat out at all, if there's any places like for me. So I moved, but I was originally in a very highly Asian town, and my go-to was Korean barbecue, you know, or sashimi, you know, Japanese restaurant.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, is it kind of the same for you, or are there different, you know, signature dishes or things like that that you can find if you're out?
Signature dishes? No, we don't. But we have this Japanese yakiniku, which is like a barbecue, Japanese barbecue, where you have all your Wagyu beef. It's a beef buffet. I think it's perfect for all carnivores.
That sounds great.
I do that almost every week. And obviously, you know, the hot pot style. So normally I'll be the weird one, you know, I'll just tell the waitress that, you know, I'm allergic. Can you just give me boiling water? And I'll pack my tiny Raymond's real salt in my purse. You know, I'll be using this.
That's funny.
Nice.
I'm quite prepared to go out to eat, but we don't have anything special. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, you sound actually relatively strict in your carnivore that, because usually like I usually have to be pretty strict, but you know, and I hate using the word strict, but I mean, disciplined maybe is a better word. Because, you know, I'll get my Korean barbecue and I'll have all the sauces on it. I don't seem to react. I think the sauces burn off when I cook the food for Korean barbecue or hot pot or something like that. At least I notice with me, I seem to not react. But with you, have you tried, you know, I know that the sweet sauce or have garlic or the, what's it called? I just had it at the tip of my tongue. Really, really, not kimchi, but the ginger. There you go. The ginger. Like, do you try any of that, or have you always just been nope? Or you tried and you reacted, so you just know it's a bad idea, or you just know instinctively it's a bad idea?
So I tried it a few months back. I was like, you know what? You know, it's work colleagues. You know, they're like, Michelle, can we just like you know, go somewhere like be a bit more normal? I was like, you know what? It's like, oh, the meat is just a little bit of marination. It's not gonna kill you. I think there's like cumin or something on this lamb, right? And I ate it. And that night, right, I think it's the histamine. I couldn't sleep because I was just itching all over.
Oh, right.
So that's that. And I'm really trying to heal. I think I really damaged my gut. So I think for most people, if you are doing like not super strict carnivore, you'll be fine. But I guess it's because I have all these autoimmune issues with my rashes. I have to be very careful with it. A few days ago, actually, I ate a smoked brisket, which has pepper on it.
And?
Sometimes it's okay, but this particular one, I had a bit of bloating. I mean, it's nothing serious, but yeah, that's it.
I noticed pepper did that to me too, and it actually made me itchy as well. And I grew up putting salt and pepper on my steak, you know, that was like, well, almost everything, right? So I gave up pepper, and I noticed when I went back and tried it again, it made me itchy, made me feel kind of bloated, like digestion was a little off, you know?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I also can't do pepper. Pepper seems to mess with me as well. I can't do like the, what's the really famous hot sauce with the rooster on it? Sriracha. I can't do the sriracha either. I don't know if you can do, I don't know if you can do sriracha or if you do spicy, you know, if you notice that messes with you.
Sriracha is
I think for me it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me it does. Sriracha does not agree.
I can eat the
so good though. It actually is really
good. Yeah.
I can't do Tabasco or what's the other one here? Tapatio we have here in the States and stuff like that. But I could do the sriracha.
Sriracha is like the Asian ketchup.
Yeah.
You know, let's be honest.
Yeah.
That's funny because that's made in a factory right near where I live. So there's a big sriracha factory.
Really? That's funny.
Huge. It takes up blocks. It's this
Yeah.
massive building. It's really, really nice building. And that all they do is make sriracha in there. It's crazy.
I seem to be able to handle Tabasco, but sriracha, for some reason, I don't know. They have a lot of junk in sriracha.
Well, and it might be high in histamines because it is fermented for a long time. You know,
Right.
that
Yeah, but I can handle fish sauce. Oh, yeah. How do you do with fish sauce?
Oh,
Michelle?
haven't tried it though.
Really?
I know it's popular in the Thai basil chicken,
Yeah.
which is the Thai. Yeah, haven't tried it really.
Oh,
I might just to see
Okay.
how I feel.
yeah. I'm actually kind of curious what fish sauce would do to you. Yeah.
Yeah, we've noticed a lot of people out do notice reactions to soy sauce. So
Oh, yeah.
we
Soy
think
sauce bad
that's
for me. Yeah.
probably the
No
soy.
question.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So my understanding is you're in the fashion industry, correct?
Yeah.
So how did that change for you? You know, as far as, you know, you seem, okay, I know you're successful, Avi, but I mean, you know, do you feel like it took the creativity, took what you do to the next level? You're outperforming even other people, you know, in the industry. And do you attribute that to your diet?
Yes, very much. I would say in the past, because I suffered from all this, you know, skin issues, you know, it affected how I show up at work. Obviously, you would feel very affected and insecure, you know, because of your skin. And in the fashion industry, you really need to portray that. I mean, it's not just about looking good, but you really need to have the charisma and the confidence. I think you cannot have all these disturbances around you. It kind of affects the output. So ever since I did that, I have a lot of mental clarity, that's for sure, especially when I'm fasting. And I noticed that whenever I have a presentation or a training to conduct in the morning, you know, the time when you need to be the most energetic because, you know, you would influence your crowd, right? I would do a fast on purpose because that's when I feel the most energized. And because from what I do, I need to be very spot on certain topics that bounces off during like certain workshop, you know, a lot of thinking and a lot of problem solving. So for example, like, oh, if my customer says that she doesn't like this outfit, what am I going to say? You know, it's very spontaneous like that. And I need to be very clear-headed to be able to answer all these things. In the past, it would take me a while to respond to people, even though I have the experience. It's just somehow you're not accessing your information directly. I'm doing a fast. It's probably the ketones, right? And since I did carnivore, it's so much more efficient. My thoughts are very clear and I'm able to really sustain that energy level, even though it's a 4-hour training. So, yeah.
That's a long training period, 4 hours. Yeah. It's interesting. More and more, I think Janice, or you know Janice Lum, I think she goes by Confident Carnivore. But I realized that that's one of the things that a lot of people have said or implied is that their confidence level is much higher. And it's interesting though, like, I mean, you could kind of see it as a whole how one mental process depends on another, and that can lend itself to confidence. But it seems to be a key component in people doing better overall in life, you know, is that their confidence goes up because of their nutrition.
Yeah,
For sure.
Kind of in that same vein, I'm guessing you do have the occasional difficult client that's maybe yelling at you, maybe cursing you out, or I don't know what goes on behind the
You
scenes.
be zen. You be zen throughout. Genuinely zen.
Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah, I guess so. But that was my because I'm in the mental health field, and so sometimes, you know, I get genuinely crazy people that I have to deal with sometimes, you know, and so, you know, it's so much easier just to stay chill, stay calm, let them vent, you know, whatever it is, because, you know, it's just remembering that they're not mad at you, they're mad at the situation or mad at something else, or
Yeah.
you know, and things like that. So, and they're, you know, you could see people, their blood sugar spikes and drops, right?
Oh
Especially
yeah.
or
Oh
if they
yeah.
haven't had their coffee. I don't know if you do coffee or tea or anything like that.
Yeah. I do tea, but yeah, I have colleagues that, in the morning they're like, woo, they pay attention to you, but after like lunch, you're like, are you listening to what I'm saying? Do you hear what I just said?
Yeah,
The old food coma.
the coma. Yeah.
Yeah, the brain fog is wow.
Yeah. It's almost unfair when your brain fog goes away and everybody else around you still suffers from it, I started noticing, like, I was having repeat conversations with people and they didn't remember, like, a month or 2 months, 6 months before this topic came up, and I'm like, we already talked about this, and they're like, we did. It kind of sounds familiar, but yeah, you're rehashing stuff again, and I started realizing my memory's getting better than everybody around me, so
Yeah.
it's a little weird, but it's a little Twilight Zone like sometimes. Like, did I slip into another time stream here or something?
Well, it's things like that that almost make you want to be selfish about being carnivore. Be like, I'm I'm outpacing everyone so easily. If they did switch their diets, I'd have to compete again. It's kind of like, employment or working on easy mode, because all the tasks and stuff like that. Once you know what you're doing, you could just do it. Pretty much I would guess all of us can pretty much do our jobs on a 3-day fast with our eyes closed and just be like, crushing everybody.
Way better that way too.
Yeah. I mean, there is you get that little feeling like, hey, I've got an advantage here. Maybe I won't push the carnivore on the people around me because I'll lose my edge, right?
Yeah.
What if they start outperforming me now?
Right.
So true.
So Michelle, what kind of you talked about fasting? So you just mainly stick with a certain window, or do you ever go above, the OMAD or anything like that?
Normally 16:8. That's my standard. Naturally, I would do a 16:8. Sometimes I will go up to 20. 20 if I'm very busy on that day and if I feel more energized, and I would try to do a 20, but I don't really force anything that is beyond that. I've tried 48 hours fast. That's my longest.
Oh, okay. And
It was fine, but my personality is that sometimes I overdo it. I think that was my mistake. I overdo it and I started noticing that my hair is getting thinner. So that's when I know, like, okay, you know what? It's time to dial it back.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, no matter how much I eat, my hair's not growing back for some reason.
Never know, Tom. Maybe you haven't really stuffed.
You never know.
Right.
I'll keep you posted.
There you go. Put more of that meat in, see if that's possible, right?
So how fast do you think the carnivore diet was going to grow in Singapore?
How fast? Oh, I'm not very optimistic about it, to be honest. Because now it's starting to pop everywhere, being vegan is the thing, beyond meat everywhere.
What about keto? Is keto big over there? What about keto?
Okay, keto, it's not really like savory food, but we do have all these small like local businesses popping up promoting keto desserts.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
so it's not the best thing either. So that's like keto brownie.
Yeah. But at least they're talking about keto. That's a good thing. Okay.
Yeah.
They might do the keto cheese milkshake though, possibly. That can be a winner.
There we go.
Yeah.
We just have to throw some liver in there. Maybe we can sneak in some kidneys, some liver, some organs.
In a milkshake.
Milkshake.
Oh,
there you go.
With that cheese bubble tea, right?
Sounds like
Why
hell.
not,
That
right?
sounds like hell.
I know, right?
That's the thing you dare people to try, right?
Right.
Oh man.
Give you a free T-shirt if you can drink this. Liver shake.
Yeah.
So you mentioned doctors earlier and, them not, knowing what's going on and stuff like that, which we totally relate. But do you go and get like regular checkups, or you get your labs done or anything like that? Are you ever curious about any of that? And does your doctor work with you? Or are they like, oh, your cholesterol is way too high, you got to go on a statin or anything like that?
I try to avoid that cholesterol situation. So I mean, I don't really have a doctor with me that takes care of that portion. But okay, so when I would say that my dermatologist is the one that really like blew me away, in a sense where, because she knew that I have all these acne problems and eczema, right? And then when I came back, I said that, it's gone, it's because of the diet. I was trying to share my story with her, and she's like, it can't be.
Okay.
So when she said that normally diet doesn't have impact on your skin, I was like, okay, I think I'm going to end the conversation here. So that is that with my dermatologist. With doctors, I think there was one general practitioner, this doctor, I think I went to him, I don't remember what was it. Was it headache or something like that? But it was a while back, and I told him that I was doing keto, and he immediately warned me, saying that, oh, please don't try all these things. You must always go through that balanced diet, the food pyramid and stuff.
Right.
Normally these things are not proven, so don't try to do crazy things like that. I was like, okay. Clearly, I mean, from that conversation, that they don't really read that much. But I do have a friend who is, he is like a functional doctor. He is pushing keto, and he himself is trying carnivore.
Cool. Let's
Wow.
get him on.
So I'm like,
Get him on.
and I told him, I said, like, please spread the word, and please make all the others be like you, because I think it's really going to help. Yeah. So he tried keto himself, and he did fasting, and he lost a lot of weight. He used to be pre-diabetic. So I think he can speak from himself from there. And he's doing carnivore, but I think the reason why he's going back and forth is because his carnivore is he couldn't get a lot of fats in.
Yeah.
So that's a common problem. But then, I mean, back to the question is that my blood markers, it's been pretty stable. My triglycerides is always very low. When I did keto, my vitamin D was super low. And it was flagged out to be, a problem, which is strange, doing keto, right? And but ever since I went carnivore, it kind of shot up really high.
Really?
To the point that the doctor was asking me, like, what are you doing? Like, are you taking supplements or something?
No supplements, just by
No.
itself. Wow, fantastic.
Yes, I'm having lamb chops. That's my supplement.
Just meat.
Just meat. I love it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I thought my doctor was gonna give me a hard time, and I had a whole speech prepared, and he's like,
You did. I wouldn't go there.
Because I was gonna ask him for a bunch of lab work and stuff like that, because I was curious as to what was happening. And when he's like, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. He's like, it's working, And then like a year later, he's like, I was telling him I brought him a book. I forgot which book. And he's like, when I started medicine, I wanted to get into nutrition, but he wound up being a internist or MD or whatever. And he's like, his wife had just had a knee replaced from arthritis. And I had really bad arthritis, and like, they're just giving me drugs for the pain and anti-inflammatories and stuff, which gave me really bad psoriasis, so it's just a mess. And so he was like, after his wife having her knee replaced, he was really curious about it. So every once in a while, I drop off a book when I go by there for him to read. So I haven't really heard much, but I noticed my healthcare provider, they started sending out keto based emails, so they mention it in the literature. I haven't quite got them up to carnivore yet, but I'm hopeful. I see, it seems to me like carnivore is just spreading like really well. It's like there's no slowing down. And I'm reading these articles about how the people are eating more meat in the United States, and I'm thinking that's got to be kind of carnivore related, You know, why would people start eating more meat all of a sudden? You know,
Yeah.
didn't have something to do with the carnivore movement. So, I mean, it's more meat to the point where it's affecting the market. Like the price of beef is going up because they hadn't anticipated the increase in demand. So, we shall see. There's always a little bit of hope, right?
They'll
Yeah.
get there.
So, did you have any other details you wanted to share with us?
No, not really.
I did have a couple more questions. I'm full of questions. Sorry. The
Sure.
first one so you mentioned grass-fed and grain-fed. Like, what's the farming situation in Singapore? I know Singapore itself is a smaller country. Mostly, it's known for the city. But are there small farms, or do you work with a farmer, or anything like that to get more direct meat, or do you buy like a half cow or a whole cow or anything like that?
Sadly, we don't have such thing that I know of in Singapore when I tried to search for it. So, but I'm glad to have this butcher that, I mean, obviously it's all from New Zealand, but it's all grass-fed. He supplies to me, but unfortunately I can't get a full cow. So, yeah. So the farming situation here is not as what it is in America. Yeah.
Got it. I see. That could be a difficulty. I'm trying to think of, people that just aren't affluent in some of these countries and how to get meat to the underclass, more or less. Not saying we're high class or anything.
Yeah.
But they're the people that desperately need it, right? They're the people that need the nutrition. A lot of the impoverished countries, not saying Singapore. Singapore is a beautiful, large, very great economy, one of the greatest economies in the world. Anyway, there's still some of those people that they eat the cheap sweet stuff because they can afford it, right? That's why rice is a huge staple and everything, and all that, right? Because it's cheap, it fills you up. And so it's really hard, that emotional part, but as well as the economic part. That's going to be a very, very hard bridge. And it's a bummer that there's aren't even farms around, at least in that area, that people can even go to or negotiate or support and things like that. So I'm just curious, I'm always kind of trying to think in that global scale kind of thinking, and then the other part is Asian countries and stuff like that. Are you noticing, because I've talked to, we've talked to other people in Asian countries or other places in the world, and they're seeing some of the Western diseases, the diabetes, the acne, the arthritis, all that stuff, the migraines, all that kind of stuff coming to these, to your nations, unfortunately, as the Western diets move in and invade in the worst way. So are you noticing that? Are you noticing maybe your generation is less healthy than the previous generation, or you're noticing that even the younger generations are growing up more sick? I'm just curious what the scene looks like where you're at.
Totally agree. Our younger generation here, you can see that even the kids that are like 5, 6 years old, they are chubby. And you can see that. I mean, okay, yeah, to have access to all this meat, right? Obviously, it requires a certain change in the lifestyle. But then again, the people here, they do eat out a lot. There are a lot of restaurants here, and it's pretty expensive. So I think it's always going back to knowing where you want to allocate your budget to. You can get pretty cheap meat in the store that you don't have to eat out, but they prefer to do that. And I would say that the younger generation, in terms of like the teens and even the younger girls that I've interacted with, that I know of, they tend to have a lot of this hormonal issues. Probably definitely not getting enough nutrients. And you can see that they are snacking all day. And even a proper meal, it's like, your, what's that thing? The fries with a bunch of cheese on top. Nachos, was it? Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Cheese fries or nachos,
Yeah. I was like, that's your lunch? Yeah. Well, what else would I eat? So, I mean, sad to say, but I can say that most of them, the people that I work with, they tend to fall sick pretty often at that age. So the moment it's so easy for them to get down with the flu and they're out for a few days. And then in a few months' time, it happens again. So, I mean, clearly that is speaking to what is happening right here in Asia.
Yeah, they're sick constantly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's sad. Sad to hear. Hopefully we can, get this information into more of their hands and stuff like this and turn it around. I mean, otherwise, I mean, the rates of diabetes, sickness and all that stuff in the United States, it's abysmal. We're pretty much the sickest nation in the world as far as being a wealthy nation. And all that's going to happen is it's just spreading to other nations, and it's really, really sad. And so anything we can do to push that wave the other way or stop it or slow it down or anything, I think is because they shouldn't have to suffer needlessly. They should look at the United States and be like, okay, we don't want to be like that. So let's do something different. And I think, unfortunately, the different, I think, is the encroaching veganism, which I know is also really big here in the United States. But man, that's such a bummer, because the Asian countries that used to be some of the healthiest, never get sick, working a lot, very, very, very into hardworking and go smart, just, slender, right? Just naturally slender. And so just not having those issues, but now it's really sad that those issues are coming up in your nation and other, Asian nations. So that's a bummer, but that's where we're at, right? So we got to fight on the ground that we're on.
Too many Coca-Colas and Snicker bars.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
So I did have one last question because
Let's
you
hear
are
it.
in the fashion industry. Ray, Tom, all three of us got to stand up. You got to tell us which one is the best dressed. Come on, guys.
I think if we stand up, we're going to disappear into our backgrounds. So
We're not going to, just me then? Fine. I'm the only brave one. There we go. This is what I'm rocking. There we go.
I would say that probably yours is like, okay, it depends what's your image goal. If your image goal is to look creative, casual, laid back, that's your vibe, why not?
There we
It
go.
suits your glasses and your tats around. There's a story there.
She read you way before.
Nice. That
Right
was
away.
good.
Nice.
That was really, really good. Can I start
But
like
Tom-
Instagramming you my outfits and be like, what am I good? Is this gonna get the ladies?
Yeah. It depends. It depends your image goal. So my job is you tell me what you want people to perceive of you, and I would create an image to achieve that, hopefully.
fascinating.
That's cool. I think, yeah.
We might have to hire as a consultant now.
No, right?
Yeah, definitely.
That'll be fun. Yeah.
That would be fun. Good times. All right. Anything else, guys? You got anything, Ray, you didn't ask?
Yeah, actually. So does that mean you can actually dress people for Zoom? I know that sounds weird, but
Of course I can.
yeah.
We always go.
Look
we
at
can
her.
even do the upper. Of course I can.
So how you
I've done
present-
some sessions where my client would just show like, okay, should I wear this blazer or should I wear this? Like,
Oh no, I mean for Zoom presentation. Like for example, we're gonna have a Zoom call like we're having now. How
Yeah.
should I wear for this type of event or whatnot? Is that
yeah,
Yeah, I
possible?
think that's the question she was answering.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's possible. It's possible. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, we could probably use some help with our wardrobe.
I'm ready. I'm ready to help for sure.
Well, I do. I know that's for sure. So always bland. Doesn't match my background. All that stuff.
No, but I can see Tom today it's more like put together, like all black. There's something serious there.
This is my podcast jacket. So when I throw this on for videos because it's just easy, I'll just
Nice, Tom.
throw it on and I'm ready to.
Very sophisticated.
try.
There you go.
I have shown up in a tank top like Justin in the past too. So, but yeah, trying to be more consistent. So I'm aware of this.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we
Awesome.
know who we're going to for our fashion tips from now on.
Yeah, that's right.
So, anyways, well, I guess we'll wrap it up then. I want to thank everybody for
Yeah.
watching. I want to thank Michelle for coming on and telling us about carnivore in another country and sharing her tips with us. So make sure everybody subscribe, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, leave us some comments so we can answer them for you, or maybe do another topic another time. But until next time, eat some meat, feel better, and whatever you do,
Don't
Don't
fall
fall down
down
the
the
carb
carb
hole.
hole.